something I've observed recently is that a lot of guys who are into the idea of aesthetics over performance, aesthetics bros, also often seem to strongly emulate the physiques of anime characters. And I personally find this very interesting because there's a great irony at play here that I want to describe in today's video. See, these guys are oftentimes seemingly obsessed with anime, right? It's always in their avatar picture right here on YouTube. You see it in the comments that they write. Wow, bro, you're totally looking like insert swole anime character here. Totally. So there's often this great underlying desire to look like these cartoon characters that they grew up watching on TV. To look like these cartoon characters that they grew up watching on TV. But then it ends right there. Because many times these guys are, for all intents and purposes, pure aesthetics bros, right? That is the only thing that matters with this mindset. The way they look is the only thing that matters. If they aren't strong, that doesn't matter. The mantra is always, I'd rather look strong than actually be strong. If they can't do anything, if they aren't capable of anything, it doesn't matter when you subscribe to this ideology, when you have this mindset. In fact, from where I'm sitting, it seems like a lot of these guys would be perfectly happy to be wheelchair bound as long as they were jacked and could still fuck any hot chicks that happen to see them rolling by in their chair. Because what they can do is irrelevant, right? The goal set is solely based on the look.
Are you tired of clothing that just doesn't keep up with your active lifestyle? Meet Barbell Apparel, the ultimate athletic clothing designed for athletes and lifters like you. Whether you're hitting the gym, crushing PRs, or simply leading an active lifestyle, Barbell Apparel has got you covered. Literally. With every stitch, Barbell Apparel is engineered to offer the perfect fit,
allowing you to move freely and comfortably during your tough workouts.
No more restricted movements or uncomfortable bunching. Just pure, uninterrupted performance. And these clothes aren't just for working out. Their streetwear collection is perfect for your active lifestyle outside of the gym, too. Join the thousands of athletes who've already made the switch to Barbell Apparel and experience the difference for themselves. Unleash your potential with Barbell Apparel, clothing designed for champions.
And yes, anime characters are oftentimes jacked. From what I've seen, I'm not the greatest anime expert in the world, but I did watch a couple different ones in my youth, and the dudes were usually jacked and ripped, and it was cool, and it made me want to be jacked too. However, the great irony at play here is that while these characters are jacked and ripped, in reality, that's actually only half of the equation. The real plot point, the real thing that actually matters in any anime is not what the character looks like. It is always what the character is capable of doing. The entire plot line of every anime hinges on performance, not on aesthetics. Gohan didn't kill Cell by looking better than him. He killed him by being more powerful than him. Yet for some reason, the aesthetics bros have adopted anime as their primary motivating factor for training, even though their ideology is not really congruent with anime ideology. In anime, looking good is a side effect of being a high performer. It's not even something that's acknowledged as being of any level of importance to the characters themselves. Looking good, that is, right? It is merely a form that they have obtained by way of chasing their primary goal, which is to be a physical badass and chasing that primary goal with extreme gusto. Whereas aesthetic bro culture is actually really the opposite of this, or even the antithesis of this, because in aesthetic bro culture, looking good is the only thing that matters. Any physical capabilities that are obtained as a side effect of chasing the primary goal of aesthetics. In fact, many of these guys even seem to pride themselves, mind-baffling, but they seem to pride themselves on being weak for their size. Whereas in my world, being stronger than you look is a perfectly fine outcome to obtain. But these guys, they would rather be weaker than they look. It's like, look how much muscle I managed to build while not building up any appreciable strength at all.
And now, with the addition of 2, count 'em, 2 marshmallows.
Like it's some sort of weird hipster flex to be able to blow your muscles up like inflated balloons the way that SpongeBob taught us so many years ago.
I'm no wimp, I'm a jerk!
Until your body becomes the equivalent of a giant, impotent cock. But these guys don't want to be able to save the world, right? They just want to look like they can save the world. They don't want to be strong. They just want to look strong. Strength, speed, power, athleticism, none of it matters as long as you look aesthetic, whatever the fuck that means. So to use anime characters as your primary motivational factor for training really misses the forest for the trees, because looking good is not what anime is about. Becoming physically superior in some way is generally the main point of the plot in any anime, but somehow these guys have only managed to absorb the secondary focus of this genre while ignoring the primary focus almost entirely. But like, it really wouldn't have been very cool if Gohan got blown into bite-sized pieces 5 seconds into his battle with Cell, and then Cell blew up the Earth and the show ended right there because Gohan had no performance to back up his looks, right? In fact, I will go out on a limb and say that I don't think that anybody would even care at all how these anime guys looked if they weren't capable of the physical feats that they're capable of. They would not be nearly as fucking cool to you if they just looked pretty but couldn't do jack fucking shit. It is their performance attributes that makes you desire to obtain their aesthetic attributes in the first place. And honestly, maybe this is why bodybuilding can't seem to garner any sort of mainstream notoriety or respect, because collectively, by and large, humanity has an inherent distaste for things that focus solely on form over function, at least insofar as the male sex is concerned. Whereas endeavors that create a form that is pleasing to the eye while simultaneously emphasizing function as their primary component often gain widespread prestige and respect. CrossFit, for example, fucked up as it is, focuses on functionality and has a way of creating very aesthetic athletes as well, and it has absolutely blown up in popularity in the last 2 decades and become far and away the most popular strength sport that's practiced worldwide. But even traditional sports that are highly respected, things like football, soccer, basketball, track and field, etc., they often get a lot of attention for the physiques that they create, secondary to the performance aspects that they emphasize. The physiques are only considered something to be marveled at because of what the athletes can do. Or we can even disregard aesthetics entirely and look at something like strongman, which is far and away much more popular than something like bodybuilding could ever hope to be. Strongman has been getting airtime on ESPN for as long as I can remember, since I was a freaking kid at least, and strongman athletes probably often have some of the most abhorrent physiques in the strength sporting realm, only next to something like sumo wrestling. But the performances that are put on display overshadow and outweigh, no pun intended, they outweigh that aspect enough that it doesn't really seem to matter. And hell, even on that note, sumo is immensely respected in Japan, and those guys are often just obese, but they sure are physically impressive to go along with it. So going back to our great irony that is at play here, idolizing and emulating the physique of an anime character while ignoring what they are capable of physically, their performance attributes. It's like a kid who puts a spoiler onto his sick fucking Corolla, bro. A spoiler is something that is often found on fast cars because it makes the car more stable at high speeds, right? But the spoiler itself has nothing to do with the car's ability to go fast. And putting a spoiler onto a slow car doesn't change the fact that the car is slow. Putting a spoiler onto a slow car misses the fucking point of the spoiler. You're just putting it on there because you know that spoilers are something that fast cars often have, but in doing so, you are mistaking correlation for causation. Sawing off the end of your muffler so that your engine goes and sounds a lot louder doesn't give you a bigger or more powerful engine. It just makes your existing engine sound louder, reverberate the sound to a greater degree. It turns your car into the automobile version of a fucking chihuahua. It's yippy and loud and it won't shut the fuck up, but it's all bark and no bite. It misses the fucking point of what a loud engine means. In the same way, having big inflated SpongeBob balloon muscles doesn't mean that you're actually capable of anything physically impressive, and possessing the former while lacking the latter misses the fucking point of physical training and misses the point of anime ideology, which is function first and form second. And since that ideology is what got you to start training in the first place, that is the greatest fucking irony in the world. People with this mindset that aesthetics are the only thing that matters, that the only good, real reason to train is to make yourself look good, and nothing else even factors into the equation in their brain, as far as I'm concerned, are only one step away from being as big of a pussy as Liver King, getting freaking ab implants so that your six-pack is always on point when you're on camera, even though you're on buckets of freaking gear and can still barely squat 400 pounds while being an enormous sack of dysfunctional meat. Hell, as far as I'm concerned, you're only 1.5 steps removed from being the next fucking human Ken doll.
2 marshmallows.
Give somebody who subscribes to this aesthetic bro ideology enough desperation and enough financial resources, and you get somebody who doesn't even train at all, but does everything in their power to look like they do. Do you really want to be a glorified Barbie doll?